Welcome back, Dynasty lovers, to another episode of the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Adrian, with my co-host,
Scott Martin.
Cuckoo Cachoo! It's time for wide receivers. I don't know about you, Scotty, but the film fatigue is starting to hit me pretty hard now. But we're fighting through it. We got a lot of wide receivers to go through, and got some pretty good ones for the show.
See, we gotta save the tight ends for last next year, because every year you hit them, you're just like, okay, I'm over this.
Yeah, like I said, the last shows, I hate scouting tight ends, and it gives me serious fatigue. I was going great with the quarterbacks. I definitely love scouting the running backs, and then the tight ends hit, and you're like, oh, it's like a brick wall. But then you get a little boost after watching a few of these wide receivers. And we got a pretty good group here today.
Oh, yeah.
So we got Calvin Austin III out of Memphis, Kevin Austin Jr. out of Notre Dame, David Bell out of Purdue, the big man Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, Dixon out of Nicholls State, my boy Jahan Dotson out of Penn State University, Romeo Doubs, sweet name, out of Nevada, and then we rounded out with Dontario Drummond out of Ole Miss. So there's at least a couple, maybe more first-round dynasty rookie picks in this group here. So enjoy. And then a lot of guys to keep an eye on then too. Some guys are a little under the radar, and then we'll see what we like and see if you agree. Always check out the film then too.
Let's get it. Jump right in.
Let's get it. Calvin Austin, the third, Memphis, 5'8", 170. 9 1/4 inch hands, and he put on a pretty impressive show at the combine. So 4.3240, 39-inch vertical, 135-inch broad jump, and 6.65 3-cone.
97th percentile 40, 94th percentile 3-cone, 88th percentile vertical, 98th percentile broad jump, and he put up 11 reps on the bench at his pro day at 24th percentile.
And then as far as stats, so had 2 great years back-to-back. In 2020, 63 catches, 1,053 yards, 11 touchdowns. And then 2021, 74 catches, 1,149 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And he averaged 16.3 yards per catch throughout his college career then. So I think we actually both had the same score for Calvin Austin Jr. here. But what did you like best, and what are his attributes that you find are going to be successful for him in the NFL and also for your dynasty fantasy football teams?
Well, number one, the first thing you're going to notice from the snap is this dude's the fastest man. He's got special speed. That 4.32, he's every bit that fast. He's that fast off the ball. He makes DBs look foolish if they try to get up on him. He's got such a great release. He's got a really good quick shimmy move that he has right off the ball, and he just gets by press coverage easily with his speed. Now, if people get their hands on him, he can be redirected, rerouted some, and he will struggle if you get a physical corner that can still run with him. So but his release, man, his speed is super, super good. That I know he played split out some at Memphis, but he's got to be in the slot. Now, all that being said, he's going to have to learn how to run routes on the inside and get open. That's going to have to be refined. So he's not developed as well as a route runner right now, but he has all the tools to be plus there. He's got pretty good hands, only 5 drops on 121 targets, and even though his hands are a little small, he's still pretty solid. So, I mean, he will catch with his body sometimes, but overall, he pretty good hands. His yak potential is special. I mean, that speed, he can just run around people and just leave them in the dirt, even against some good teams. So, definite home run hitter. Where he falls off is the contested catch. His catch radius is super small, as you would expect, and he really struggles there, and that's why he just can't play outside. He's a tough dude. He's just not the most physical, so he's got a knock there, but Man, I really, really like this guy and feel like his positive traits are going to translate, but he's got to have the right spot. You put this guy in Kansas City running these down-the-field routes, oh man, he could just blister it. So if he gets a good landing spot, look out. Calvin Austin can be moving on up the draft boards.
Yeah, definitely the speed, the quickness, the acceleration, the release off the line with his footwork, all are top notch here. And the problem with these smaller guys are, you said it, they can't play outside very often. Not going to have much as far as contested catch. He's going to be susceptible to being jammed. You have that protection more in that slot then, and it's going to be very landing spot dependent. He's not going to be a home run hitter for every team. It's going to be that certain situation then. He's one of those guys that you're not going to draft maybe in the first round, but if there's a good landing spot, he's going to be easily a second-round pick just because he has that upside then. These smaller guys are not the ones I usually like to target just because it takes a lot more things to go right for them to succeed then. And like I said, they have to have that exact right landing spot, and they're never going to be that alpha number one receiver. The only guy that's actually really sort of blossomed at this size or at someone coming from just like a smaller school like Memphis and just balling out was Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill's his own special beast then. But like I said, I like Calvin Austin. I like the potential as a slot receiver, and he could slide into that wide receiver 2 range for an NFL team based on being come out of the slot then. But it's going to take the right situation. And like I said, he gets a pretty good grade at 73, but he gets dropped down because of that physicality, because of the contested catch then. But definitely top notch for his speed and quickness then.
Yeah, he got a 73 for me too, and if he gets a good landing spot like Kansas City, Green Bay, even Buffalo, that can use that sort of speed element, he's going to be an early second round, definitely mid-second round pick.
Yep. Moving on to another Austin, Kevin Austin Jr. So definitely not Calvin Austin's brother unless it's from a different mother. No, it still has to be the same dad, so he can't be the same junior and the third for the dad. But Kevin Austin Jr., Notre Dame, 6'2", 200 pounds, 9-inch hands. Another impressive performance at the combine. So 4.43 40, 39-inch vertical, 132-inch broad jump, and a 6.71 3-cone.
So that's 79th percentile 40, 88th percentile vertical, 95th percentile broad jump, 87th percentile 3-cone.
And he overall got a better relative athletic score just based on his size compared to Calvin Austin. So definitely impressive numbers. Really didn't do much until 2021 then, and really turned on the second half of the year. And he had 48 catches for 888 yards, 7 touchdowns, and in his college career he averaged 18.4 yards per catch. So definitely a home run hitter, dynamic player then. So what I see from Kevin Austin, the big things I liked the best were I thought he was actually a very good deep ball threat then. I thought he had very good tracking skills when he got open down there. He was able to get good separation on his crossing routes, but I think he needs crisper routes just in general then. I thought he was a little bit susceptible to the press, so he has to work on that in the NFL. His hands, even though he was good at contested catches, there were some drop issues, and he actually had a 9.4% drop rate. And then overall, I thought he wasn't overly physical. I know the NFL.com website had him initially listed at 215, and then they changed it this week, and they listed him down at 200 now. And that makes a lot more sense because I'm like, he doesn't look very big or physical for a 6'2", 215 kind of guy. And I was a little disappointed by that, but I guess the 200 makes more sense now. So I saw that. And then as far as the speed, I don't think he necessarily looked like a 4.43 guy on film, and I don't think he had like a sort of amazing yards after catch. Is more that speed element, but he does have some quickness in the open field with the ball in his hands, and Like I said, he definitely has that big play potential with that 18.4 yards per catch average on the NFL. I actually see him as a sneaky or upside third or fourth round rookie pick, probably more that third round rookie pick that you could take a flyer on. Because I don't think he's going to be an extremely high draft pick in the NFL draft, but a guy that has a lot of potential and his best football days could be in front of him in the NFL. But he might take a year or two to develop then before he becomes a fantasy asset. But definitely a guy to have a flyer on and a guy with potential going forward, just based on his athletic profile. So I gave him a 71 overall.
Yeah, you sure you're a little bit higher on him than I am, but I see sort of the same way. This is a guy who hasn't played much football, and so his better days are definitely ahead of him. I think you'll see he's going to be that year 3 guy. You get to see what he's got, but he's a guy that has traits that I think teams can utilize, and he's a great 4th round pick, maybe late 3rd. Just sort of ballparking it here before the draft. He is, I thought he had really quick feet, trying to beat the press. It's just, I didn't expect a guy that was as big as him to get jammed as easily and rerouted. So his release is okay. It's not the worst in the class for sure. I thought his route running could definitely use some improvement. He just does not create much separation, and he just doesn't run a big variety of routes. When he does, sort of out of his breaks, they're just not crisp. He will round routes off, and his hands are okay. 5 drops on 82 targets. So just okay there. His contested catch is pretty good. I thought he used his frame pretty well, and he'll take hits in the middle, over the middle, no fear. Sort of his ball skills, I wish that he would go attack the football at the highest point. There was a couple of his long pass plays that I almost got picked because he didn't come back and get it. And I mean, it got through there and he just kept on running, but it was close. And he's okay physicality wise. He's okay sort of adjusting to the ball up in the air. And he's got the top end film speed. It's just he doesn't really run with a lot of speed variation. So he's more than just that one speed guy. I didn't think he ran 4.43. I thought he was more 4.5. So I don't know if he dropped some weight after the season and that picked his 40 up, and that's what we're kind of seeing. He went from like 215 to 200. But
I don't think he played fast until he got the ball in his hands and was wide open. Then he saw the long speed, but definitely didn't play up to that 4.43 speed on every play.
Yeah, and I know he has a big yards per catch average, but I feel like most of that just came from he got the ball, and when he got it in space, he could use that speed to get gone, because I didn't think he was as elusive as he should be, and I didn't really see that he was a big tackle breaker either. Well, most of the time people just couldn't get their hands on him, but he's an interesting prospect. He grades above average on almost everything, and the only thing I really knocked him on was just his route running. So he was a 64 for me, and he's got all the traits that in the right spot could be a great 4th, 5th round flyer for you.
Yeah, definitely a guy to keep an eye on. I said I just don't think he's going to be a high pick, but there definitely is potential there. So keep him on your boards. Watch where he goes, and then snag him later in the drafts then. Next up, David Bell out of Purdue. 6'1", 212 pounds, 9.25-inch hands. So at the combine, he ran a 4.65 40, 33-inch vertical, 118-inch broad jump, and a 7.14 three-cone.
8th percentile 40, 26th percentile vertical, 32nd percentile broad jump, 17th percentile three-cone. He ran the 40 again at his pro day, 4.71 second percentile. So, dismal.
Yeah, definitely not a great combine performance. But as far as production, balled out in his freshman year, had 86 catches, 1,035 yards, 7 touchdowns. The COVID short season, we'll skip that one, but the 2021 had 93 catches, 1,286 yards and 6 touchdowns, and his college career he averaged 12.7 yards per reception then.
That was only 11 games, too.
Yeah. So he was targeted a ton and put up some great numbers there. So David Bell, there's a lot of people out there are poo-pooing him and putting him down since his combine performance then. And I was actually coming in thinking I guess I'm not going to like this guy too much. But when immediately in the first game, I did a complete 180. I absolutely love David Bell.
Listen, if you're listening to this, you're watching this, don't skip over this guy because of those combine numbers.
Yeah.
When you put the film on, you will see all you need to see. Now, I don't know how much you like this guy compared to where I do. It seems like you love him.
David Bell.
I like him. So
I love David Bell.
Let's hear what you got to say, and we'll see what happens.
So I think what says it all for this guy is he was the Indiana Gatorade Basketball Player of the Year. And that's what I saw on the football field. I saw a guy who could cross over anybody and get open and then dunk it on their face. That's what I saw on the field. He's very technical with his routes then. He's able to get open in short spaces, whether it be the slot or the outside then. His hands were excellent. So I give him a 9 as far as his hands. He's not afraid to go over the middle. He is amazing at adjusting to the ball and tracking the ball in the air. And he's always in control. He has outstanding balance. He is extremely difficult to take down. And his physicality, his run after the catch, his mindset is that of a basketball player. Like I say, he's crossing people up. He has almost running back vision in the open field. And
he could play running back.
So he played running back.
No, he could. He could.
I think. Yeah, his vision in the open field is superb, and he's not the fast. He's not fast, but he makes up for it with his savviness, he's actually more quick than fast, and it's just smooth. I think that's one of the best things to describe him is that he's smooth and he's a football player. And two guys that I sort of see as a possibility for David Bell's future, barring the right landing spot, is Jarvis Landry and Keenan Allen. Both those guys ran in the 4.7s. And both of those guys are excellent route runners. Both those guys have excellent hands. And I'm not saying David Bell is going to turn into Jarvis Landry or Keenan Allen. But that's a comp I see. I see a guy that's going to be an excellent route runner and excellent hands and is going to be a productive football player. He has to get the right landing spot. But I'm as soon as I saw this, I'm like, Scotty, I call dibs. I call dibs on David Bell.
So,
but I think he's going to be. If I was an NFL GM, I would draft him in the second round.
He's going to go higher than people think.
Yeah, I'm looking at him as far as a second round pick in your rookie drafts. But I'm hoping that he somehow sneaks to me in the third, just because people look at his combine numbers.
There's just no way that this guy gets out of the top half of the second round. I can't see it. I just can't.
I heard so many people poo-pooing him and dropping him on their boards and saying he's undraftable now. But I can't tell you how much I loved his film.
First of all, what was your overall grade?
I gave him a 78 then.
Okay, you're a little bit higher.
And he got knocked down. So the things he got knocked down for was just the top end speed. That was the main thing. Everything else was a 7 or above then.
Okay, so this guy has one trait that is special. You can't coach it. You can't teach it. Just some receivers have it. And this is the ability to create routes on the fly like a Wes Welker, like a Cooper Kupp. These unorthodox routes that are just special. They know how to get open. They fill defenses, and they just put themselves in the right spot. This guy has that elite ability. So just special. He doesn't have the crispest routes. He doesn't have doesn't create the most separation with his routes, but he puts himself in the perfect spot every time, and he runs routes with great speed variation. So this is a skill that, without a doubt, will translate. His sort of release off the line, he can be jammed with physical corners at times. But I thought he had quick feet. That's a lot faster than what this 3-cone looked like. Because, it shows up in his yards after catch, too. He's surprisingly elusive. He's juking people. He's like that, it's great analogy there, basketball player. Just that stop on a dime, cross you over, and look at you. That's what he can do on a football field. He can spin move. He can juke. He's got that Deebo Samuel stiff arm. He gives you Deebo Samuel vibes, just didn't run a fast 40. Because he looks like he could play running back. Excellent hands. 5 drops on 133 targets. They look very natural, and he makes some special off-target catches. His contested catch is plus. He is fearless over the middle, catching in traffic. He's not the biggest leaper, obviously, by that vertical, but he goes up and competes, and he uses every bit of it. He gets the ball at the highest point. So all those things were good. Excellent ball tracking ability, flashes plus body control, above average physicality. And, the only things that really hurt him is you see that top end speed on film. I don't know that he's 4.65. I don't think that. I think he's 4.55. But you can see he gets run down sort of at the end. But I really like this guy. He was a 74 for me. So yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, like I said, I of all these guys, I love Treylon Burks' film. I love Dotson's film. But as far as like that surprise Christmas morning, you weren't expecting to love a guy, but you got this awesome present anyway.
This is a guy you're going to draft in the second round of your rookie drafts. You're not going to be thrilled about it, but in 3 years you're going to be like, "Yep, I got a solid wide receiver too." Because there's so many athletic freak stud wide receivers potentially in this draft, depending on landing spot, and they're going to all go in the first round. David Bell's probably not going to get there. I would be super surprised. That being said, you mix this guy with Aaron Rodgers, and you got a fun experience going on, because Rodgers just knows how to get the ball to people. But I like David Bell a lot, and you love him.
Yeah, oh man, I was smiling the whole time I was watching this film. But another guy, I was really enjoying this film. Treylon Burks, Arkansas, 6'2", 225, almost 10-inch hands, had a 4.55 40, a 33-inch vertical, 122-inch broad, and a 7.28 3-cone.
So for as good as the first two guys were at the Combine, these two guys were equally as bad. But so 33rd percentile 40, 26th percentile vertical, 59th percentile broad jump, 8th percentile 3-cone. He did jump at his pro day, and he was 35.5 inches, 57th percentile vertical, and he put up 12 reps on the bench, 32nd percentile.
Yeah, and as far as production, had a decent freshman year, a better sophomore year, and then his junior year this past year had 66 catches, 1,104 yards, 14 touchdowns. Also ran the ball 14 times for 112 yards for 8 yards per carry then. And as far as receiving, he had averaged 16.4 yards per reception in his career. So, Scotty, I went first with David Bell, but I'll let you go first with Treylon Burks. What did you think about him?
Well, I didn't expect to like this guy too much after sort of looking at these pro day, these
Yeah.
After sort of looking at these combine numbers and then I started watching the tape.
Yeah, and the thing is, the combine, he actually looked soft.
Yeah.
He didn't look
I saw that too.
Like you see like a DK Metcalf. So I was expecting the same thing as far as this guy's. He's going to be more like instead of DK Metcalf, he's more along the lines of a Calvin Benjamin.
Yep. This dude ain't Kelvin Benjamin. I texted you. I was like, dude, I think Treylon Burks could challenge for like top pick. I love this guy. And oh man, if he went to one of those top spots, I can't take him over Breece Hall. Breece Hall's, like I've said in other podcasts, I think he's generational. But it's going to be fun to see how he stacks up with the rest of this wide receiver crew after we get, their landing spots. But this guy's special. He flies off the ball. He is super fast off the ball. And his moves to beat press coverage, what are you going to do? He's got the speed. He's got all the moves. He's physical. He made the Alabama defensive backs look like child's play. He can do it, man. Excellent release. Another guy, elite speed variation, knows how to get open. He's got that quickness in and out of his cuts, and plus route running ability. Very defined route tree. Hands are up there with top in the class. They are unreal good. And they're just as sure as you can get. 3 drops on 88 targets in 2021. And the dude, he wins a lot on these contested catches. He can catch the ball in traffic. There's times he's literally getting tackled and catching the ball still. He's not going to jump out the gym, like really go up high and get it. But, man, he just times his jump super well. And he's a winner. You want somebody who can track the ball down the field, somebody with elite sort of ball skills and being able to manipulate their body in the air and is physical at the point of catch. This guy is that. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he has this burst, this extra gear that, good luck. Not only does he have that burst of speed, good luck tackling this dude. He's like a solid running back with a thick lower half. And he's a great stiff arm. And there's no way he's not faster than 4.55. He outran the entire Alabama secondary on a straight line sprint. There's no way he's not in the 4.4s. And I think he's quicker and more fleet of foot than what his testing shows too. This guy got an 87 for me, and I'm a believer, man. I don't know how he gets. Gosh, I don't know how this guy gets out of top 7, top 8 picks. We'll see.
Yeah, he's going to be a first-round pick. There's no way he could get buried on some depth chart.
Please don't go to Philadelphia. I don't want to see him there, but I think he's got the talent.
Don't go to Philadelphia. Don't go to Baltimore.
Don't go to the Jets.
Well, I think Zach Wilson's going to take a step up, and I think.
Well, I do too, but I'd rather avoid that. I've gotten burned by a lot of Jets wide receivers here the last couple years, so. Yeah,
and you own a lot of Elijah Moore, so you don't want to get his stock hurt.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree with everything you said here. He's going to be a matchup nightmare. He lines up everywhere, like everywhere. He lines up as an H-back. He lines up in the slot. He lines up outside. He goes in motion. So just probably about half the time it seemed like. So he can play anywhere, and that adds to the versatility. So people are talking about like him being used like Deebo Samuel then. But I don't think he's going to be a Deebo Samuel. But I think he has the potential to be used in multiple different ways, like a Swiss Army knife. Then hands wise, you said great hands. He has a super huge catch radius, and contested balls. He can get up high He high points it very well, and he uses his body to box out the defender very easily. So he takes advantage of all that. He tracks the deep ball very well. He is difficult to bring down in the open field. And then you said that stiff arm. He has a jump cut. He has his size. He's when you texted me, you said you're gonna think about taking him ahead of Breece Hall. I texted you back, like I said, #beast. That's what you described Treylon Burks. And I think everyone was surprised by his 40. They thought the way he just ran past those Alabama defenders.
He's got burst. Yeah, people who are slow don't have that extra gear.
I think everyone is slowed down when they put on pads and a helmet, except for Treylon Burks. So I think he actually runs a 4.55, but he runs that same speed, the 4.55, on the field with pads on. What other guys?
He could run 4.55 with center blocks on his back.
So he is a thoroughbred Clydesdale, and I really wish he looked more toned at the combine, and I really wished he actually ran better, because like I said, when I saw him at the combine, I'm like, oh, is he good? I really had that feeling like, oh, is this that guy I was supposed to love, and he's going to be a Calvin Benjamin? So I wasn't going to this film thinking I was going to love him, but he changed my mind again, and I hope he's not a guy that's going to be an issue with weight going forward, because at 225 at 6'2", that's a lot of mass. But I think if he can keep that under control, he's got a bright future ahead of him. And like I said, I hope he goes to an ideal environment, because he's going to be a top 3 pick then. If he goes with Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be special. So yeah, Treylon Burks, awesome. I gave him an 83. I rarely give out perfect scores, so that hurts his numbers a little bit. But an 83 is an excellent score for a wide receiver. In my book.
Me, you can't have better ball tracking, body control, or physicality. He gets 10s for me there.
Yep. Yeah, so Treylon Burks, special. Next up, Dai'Jean Dixon, Nicholls State. So I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah, bad guy to follow.
Gotta follow. And then on the other side of him is he's bookended by Jahan Dotson. So we'll get to him afterwards. But Dai'Jean Dixon, Nicholls State, 6'3", 205, 9.5-inch hands then. He ran a 4.62 at the 40 at the combine, 34-inch vertical, 125-inch broad jump, and a 7.28 3-cone drill.
So 13th percentile 40, 39th percentile vertical, 80th percentile broad jump, 8th percentile 3-cone.
Yeah, as far as production, he had a very good 2021, 71 catches, 1,002 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and averaged 14.1 yards per catch in college then. And like I said, it's tough for this guy to follow Treylon Burks then. And he actually got the lowest score of all the group here. I don't know if it was recency bias and going from one guy to the other, but I didn't see much things that were special. I thought he was a good college receiver at a small school, but the guy's already 23 and a half years old. He doesn't have a great release. His hands, there's limited games out there. And the game, one of the few games I saw, he had multiple drops and bobbles. But he actually, when you look back at his drop rate on the season, it was a 4.1% drop rate. So actually probably decent hands. But what I saw was question mark. He's a taller guy, but he doesn't really go up and get it. He has probably average ball tracking, body control. He's a thinner build at 6'3", 205, and that lends it to being not very physical. And he's not going to offer much after the catch. He's not breaking tackles. He doesn't have a wide variety of moves. And his top-end speed is really not there, and he doesn't have much quickness. So I don't want to spend too much time poo-pooing this guy. I give him a 56, which is easily the lowest grade of this group of 8 we have here.
Yeah, I get these confused. I don't know if it was Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl, or I can't remember which one he was in, but he popped he really balled out. And so that's why we decided to scout him. But he is a not as physical Jauan Jennings. That's who he is. He's a big slot possession wide receiver. So I agree with pretty much everything you said. You got a little bit above average, release off the ball. He's not really got the quickest of moves. His route running just doesn't have the crispness you need to really separate. So you just don't see him separating a lot. So he's catching the ball a lot in traffic. So his contested catch is good because he spends a lot of his time there, and he shows he's got some plus ball skills. He's not a guy that's going to go up and jump over everybody, but he's got some above average ability there, above average body control and ball tracking. You see him sort of really get down. He gets down the field and catches some over the shoulder catches. But I mean, he's doing this at an FCS level, and it's not like he's running by people. He's just sort of there with them. So that average at best top end speed, that 4.62 is probably accurate. And once he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to break a few tackles, but he's not going to make people miss. So he's a physical, big slot guy, and these guys are tough to translate. I would be very surprised if he got drafted. We'll see. 60 for me.
Yeah, he's off my board. Moving on. A guy that's definitely on my board. Definitely a first-round pick. Definitely a guy I love. Jahan Dotson.
Now, we need to preface this with, you're a big Penn State fan.
Yeah, I'm a Penn State fan.
I am not a Penn State fan. Even though we're in Pennsylvania country here.
Yeah, I still give honest grades. I'm not going to when John Clifford comes out, I'm not drafting him.
Well, yeah.
When what's his name? When cornerback Tariq Castro Fields had a great combine. I don't want him on my team at cornerback for the Buffalo Bills. So I'll give you an honest opinion. But to be safe here, I'll let Scotty start off with Jahan Dotson, so he can give you his opinion first. But
oh boy, this dude's special.
What? We gotta give his numbers first.
Oh, he's special.
Jahan Dotson, 5'11", 178 pounds, 9.5-inch hands. At the combine, had a 4.43 40, a 36-inch vertical, a 121-inch broad jump, and a 7.28 three-cone drill.
So 79th percentile 40, 64th percentile vertical, 53rd percentile broad jump, 8th percentile three-cone, and at his pro day, he put up 15 reps on the bench, which is 62nd percentile. That's a little surprising.
Yeah, 15 reps is pretty impressive. And he had increased production every year at Penn State then. Had a very good junior year, but an amazing senior year here. Had 91 catches, 1,182 yards, 12 touchdowns, and he averaged 15.1 yards per reception in college. So, Scotty, like I said, you're starting off. Tell the people about Jahan Dotson.
So we'll take him down from the top, but the first thing you're going to notice on film, if Spider-Man played receiver, his hands would look like Jahan Dotson's. If you don't believe me, Google, YouTube, whatever, the Ohio State game in 2020, when he caught that one-handed pass, it looks like something that is fake. It's so unreal. This dude has the best hands I've ever seen. He had 2 drops on 137 targets, and I don't care what you play in. He can catch it they played a game in the snow that you couldn't even hang on to the ball. And he caught the ball like it was nothing. There was no bobble. There was no nothing. I mean, he has the surest hands I've ever seen. Hands down.
And for being only a 5'11" guy, he has a very large catch radius too.
Yep.
Very large.
Yep. He can play literally anywhere. Anywhere on the field. I really want him to go to Green Bay because him with Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau not being affected by the weather is unreal potential. But this dude's release off the line, super, super quick feet. He's got plus moves. And the only thing I worry about with his release is teams did not press him as much as I thought they should. I think they were worried about his speed and just knew to lay off. And Penn State sort of spreads you out too. So I think if he had somebody that was a little more physical with him, it could slow him down some. But he's pretty good.
Yeah, there's one play I saw against Ohio State where when the corner actually got a hold of him and was able to force him out of bounds. So he is susceptible to the press, but
and he's only 178 pounds too. So
yeah, and the other thing that he gets dropped for is that physicality for that size then too. But those are the two negatives that I saw. But continue.
Yeah, and it's the physicality sort of with the route running, but he still creates elite separation. And this is another one of those plus speed variation guys that just knows how to get knows how to get into the windows, knows how to get open, and he has a vast array of routes. He can literally run anywhere on the field. If he had a quarterback that could throw him the ball, he could operate on all three levels. It's just he's a little limited by his quarterback play there. And he's a guy, you mentioned that big catch radius. Yep, definitely. His catch in traffic is excellent. And I mean, it's all got to do with hands. If you literally stick it on him anywhere, the ball is caught. It's exceptional. His ball tracking, he always seems to have the ball timed up literally perfect. So he got a perfect score for ball tracking for me. His body control, there was one time he jumped up in the air, did a legit 360, landed, and took off. He's so fun to watch. You get the ball in his hands, he is super elusive. Like he's got that burst, he's got that great start-stop. And I don't know that I believe this 7.283 cone. I expected him to run in the 6s for sure. You give this guy in space, he's a home run hitter. Man, the only things that I had questions about on him was just I thought he could be more physical, and I thought that he could do a little bit better job sort of if he could go up higher and just make those acrobatic catches. Man, this guy's awesome. I gave him an 84, which graded him just a little bit below Treylon Burks. But they're going to be in the same tier. Landing spot will absolutely dictate where these guys go. Wow, this guy's special. He is a better Rashad Bateman, and I loved Rashad Bateman pre-landing spot last year.
Yeah, he's awesome. I agree with everything you said then. I've only given out 110 of all the guys I've scouted so far from the wide receivers, and that's Jahan Dotson's hands. 2.2% drop rate.
Yeah, if you don't give him a 10 for hands, then you just need to start grading, 1 to 9.
Yeah, and Clifford did not do him any favors on the throws. So he made him work for that 2.2% drop rate. And like I said, everything you said is spot on then. I don't think I need to belabor it then. But there's been 3 Penn State receivers that I've wanted the Bills to draft coming out. I was right in the first 2, and that was Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin. And NFL teams let those guys slip to the second round. I hope I don't know how
this guy's tape better than both of those guys.
Yeah, I don't know. If the NFL lets this guy slip to the second round again, they're just crazy. He's special. He's a complete receiver. Like I said, the only thing we have is the physicality and maybe susceptible to press then, but he can do it all. He's going to be a special talent then, and I hope I get some Deshaun Dotson on my team. He's great. So yeah, I gave him an 82, 1 point below Treylon Burks.
Wow, I outgraded you on him. I'm actually surprised. I actually went into his film.
You give the 10s more than I do. You like giving the higher numbers.
When you
absolutely special
look like Spider-Man catching the football, you deserve a 10.
I gave him a 10. I gave him a 10 for hands.
Oh, man,
that was the only 10 I've given out so far.
Yeah, I'm excited about him.
Yeah, but definitely get some Jahan Dotson shares, and he may, by going later in that first round, and people project him to go later in the first round, he may get a better landing spot with the Aaron Rodgers and the Patrick Mahomes of the world, as opposed to the guys like the Garrett Wilsons being teamed up with Marcus Mariota in Atlanta. So there's some advantage to being picked a little bit later. So moving on, the man with the best name, Romeo Doubs, out of Nevada. 6'2", 201 pounds, 10-inch hands. Did not participate at the combine. Did he have a pro day that you're aware of?
Well, he had a knee injury it limited him sort of at his combine and pro day testing. So he only competed in the bench at his pro day. So he had 13 reps, 42nd percentile. Mm-hmm.
And as far as production, he had productive years, all 4 years at Nevada. Had almost 600 yards, then almost 700 yards, 1,000 yards, and 1,100 yards. In 2021, he had that was on 80 catches and 11 touchdowns, and he averaged 14.8 yards per catch then. And I came away liking Romeo Doubs. If you want to see a fun game with Romeo Doubs, check out the Fresno State game. Guess how many catches he had in that game?
A lot.
19.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was
19
a lot.
19 for 203 yards. So he almost had a fourth of his catches in that game and about a fifth of his yardage in that one game against Fresno State. And he's a guy with very strong hands, had a 4.8% drop rate in college in his 2021 season then. He's physical, and I think he's pretty fearless. He goes over the middle, makes those tough catches then. He has decent separation on his routes, not the greatest. He can be redirected at times then too with some press. But as far as contested catches, he wins more than he loses, and decent ball tracking. He's not going to really offer you much with a yak after the catch, but he does have decent top-end speed. I don't think he's going to be like a 4.4 burner, but I think he's probably more that 4.5 type speed then. And I think he has the tools to get it done. I don't know if there's anything necessarily special, but I think he's a very solid wide receiver and a guy I'm probably going to be looking to target later in my rookie drafts, probably in that fourth round. I think he's a good guy to take a flyer on then. Because he has, like I said, he has pretty good size at 6'2", 201, and those 10-inch hands. And definitely he was Carson Strong's main man then. And I definitely a guy with potential, a guy to keep an eye on in your rookie drafts.
What to say about Romeo Doubs? He is good, above average at everything. He's not bad at anything, but he's not great at anything. He's a jack of all trades, master of none. He graded out at 65 for me. What was he for you?
I gave him a 69. So pretty decent score. Not necessarily good, but above average.
Yeah, I thought his release off the line was above average. He has really good build-up speed, and so I expected that he would probably run 4.45 to 4.5. I thought he would be pretty fast. Not a burner, but pretty fast. His route running, separation, he just doesn't have the most defined route tree, so that's going to need some work. And I don't see that he separates great. He operates really well against zone coverage, so he does a good job sitting in the zone and getting open. But he's not a guy that against man is going to be able to get himself open routinely. His hands they're good. He only had 4 drops on 110 targets, but there were times that I saw him be a body catcher. There were times that I saw him wait on the ball to get there instead of going out and plucking it, and I was surprised he didn't drop more balls. He's a winner with contested catches. There's times though he doesn't compete. He doesn't come back and get the football, and he just leaves the quarterback hanging. You'll see some poor, interceptions. And so I knocked him a little there, but he's got above average body control and tracking, and his physicality overall is okay. He he's not going to offer you much after the catch either. So it's just he kind of gets what's there. And he's not somebody that I'm really excited about. He's somebody that if he gets a good landing spot, that I can see myself drafting in one of the later rounds of your rookie draft. But he's just, I don't know. He's like a wide receiver 3 on a team that he's a guy. He's like a guy that you can roster, but you can never cut. I think that's what kind of guy he's going to be.
I think he has the skills to be a wide receiver 2 on a team. I don't think he's ever going to be necessarily a wide receiver 1. And this is from an NFL team. And with that, there's guys that sneak into that wide receiver 3 range. On a really good pass happy team, you can even get 2 wide receiver 1s on each team. But I think as far as his skill set, he's probably more that wide receiver 3 range in the ideal situation. Like I said, everything depends on landing spot. It's such a big part of fantasy football. And if you go with a crappy quarterback, no matter how good you are, unless you're DeAndre Hopkins or Allen Robinson, which was quarterback proof until this past year with Justin Fields, it's pretty tough to ball out, especially when you come in as a rookie. But like I said, I like this guy. I like he has good traits, and I think he has potential going forward. Then, so like I said, I'm not drafting him high, but a guy that's definitely on my draft board going into your rookie drafts over the next few months. Then, next up, Dontario Drummond, Ole Miss. So he's 24 and a half years already. Then, so going into the season, he's going to be 25 years old. So. Definitely getting a later start here, but he comes in at 6'1", 215, 9.25-inch hands. At the combine, he ran a 4.65 40, 34-inch vertical, 121-inch broad jump.
8th percentile 40, 39th percentile vertical, 59th percentile broad jump. He did run again at his pro day, 4.67 40, 5th percentile.
And then as far as his production, in 2021, he had a very good season, 76 catches, 1,028 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and he averaged 14.3 yards per catch in his college career then. So what did you see with Dontario Drummond?
Well, I didn't come away impressed, I can tell you that. He was a 56 for me. He has above average physicality. He has the ability to break tackles after you get the ball in his hands, but that's about all that's good. He can catch the ball sort of, and contested catches are okay. He's got good catch toughness, but this is a guy that he doesn't have quickness off the ball. He doesn't have moves to beat press coverage. He's physical enough, but he's not super physical to just shed people. His route running is just not sudden. He needs development as a route runner and just doesn't separate. He's got hands that are suspect. He double catches. He doesn't clean catch a lot of balls, and he has focus drops, 6 drops on 94 targets. He's got above average ball skills, and he's got literally his top end film speed is 4.65. I think he plays like it. He's average at best to below average, and he plays like it. Quickness, acceleration, same thing. So I came away very unimpressed. So Dontario Drummond, to me, I will be shocked if he gets drafted. He's a practice squad depth guy for a team.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in this draft that are older than we normally see, just because of this COVID extended year, given extra year of eligibility, transfers, the whole 9 yards then. And that age alone puts them at a big disadvantage from my standpoint as a dynasty fantasy football analyst and team owner. And then he doesn't really offer much special traits, except the only thing I gave him a pretty good score on was his yards after catch. I think he has some good wiggle, able to break tackles.
Do you want to hear how many yards after catch he has? It's low. 2.5. That's 2.5. That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst, I think, in this class.
Yeah, but I actually, so I graded him low at first, but then he saw on some plays where he can actually get more. So I think he gets either tackled right away or he has a bigger catch, bigger play potential. And I think that's the Ole Miss offense.
Well, sometimes he got tackled. He got taken down by arm tackles.
Yeah, and there's times he gets tackled behind the line. So I think he had probably a lot of negative plays then too, just with this Ole Miss offense. And he was only operating out of the slot. So a 6'1" guy, 215, operating only in the slot. So he's a big slot guy. And it's tough for those guys to translate to the NFL. It's tough for them to be fantasy relevant or fantasy football potential to actually start on the team. And like I said, I don't see much. I give him a 62, so a little better than you. Definitely better than I gave Dai'Jean Dixon. But he's still off my board. I'm not going to own any Dontario Drummond. I'd be surprised if he got drafted then too. I would
draft everybody in this group except for Dai'Jean Dixon and Dontario Drummond. Don't matter where those guys go, they're off my board.
Yeah, I agree that this is actually a very good group except for those two. But yeah, so a lot of good wide receiver potential, and I think that's really it's maybe the savior of the draft. Then is the wide receivers, because I wasn't impressed with the tight ends, not impressed with the quarterbacks. Running backs, you have a few good guys. There may be some flyer guys out there, but I'm counting on the wide receivers to save this class.
Well, at least right now, pre-draft, they better hit. These wide receivers better hit, or you're not going to get to pick 7 and be happy about it.
Yeah. Remember last year we loved a bunch of guys.
Yep.
And then probably about half got their legs
the draft
chopped out
just
from underneath them.
Destroyed everything.
Yeah. It was awful, especially at the running back position. That was devastating. And but we're going to lose guys because of the draft here going forward. But hopefully these big names that we love don't get hit too bad. But yeah, so check out their film. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Dynasty Interview. Check out the website. Player profiles are going up every day. Check out our Twitter handle at the DYN Interview, and tell us what you think of these guys. Be happy to hear your thoughts. Yeah, but definitely a good group here. So check out the other episodes then too for these wide receivers. We should have a few more coming in here shortly. But this is Joseph Adrian signing off.
And this is Scott Martin, and you just listened to the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast.